Dun, 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 as these guys are like gliding in on their wingsuits. Like, I want someone to do that. That would make my life for about 30 seconds.
Welcome to the Macross Delta Recap Show, episode 23. This is EXO, along with the magical girl who loves nothing more than delicious cans of sea spiders, Celia. How are you, Celia?
I'm kind of grossed out by the sea spiders. Nasty.
And our Mecha expert that just got here by way of Windermere flying squirrel suit, Chad.
Hi, everybody.
Chad. Nice landing, Chad.
Thank you. I like that squirrel suit.
God, those wingsuits.
Oh man, looks rather fetching on me.
I actually didn't notice it until I watched it the second time. But Reina makes a pun on Mikumo's name with the sea spiders.
No.
Yeah, so because her name is Mikumo, and then
Mhm.
sea spiders are umigumo. Umi for sea and gumo for spider.
Uh-huh.
So when she's all like Mikumo raburi, Mikumo is lovely when she's embarrassed, and then she eats the sea spider, then Reina says umigumo raburi.
That's what she meant. That's funny.
I'm like, hey,
okay.
it's a nice pun.
I'll have to rewatch that again. Yeah, interesting. I did not get that the first time around.
Well, unless you spoke Japanese, you would probably wouldn't
Well,
get
that's
it
why we
second.
have an expert.
I'm not an
That's
expert.
right.
Not yet.
You're our expert.
I had to
That's about
download
it.
a translator today because, like, the one line that Xiao says that I could translate the first time watching without subs, the subber decided to write as "Wow, that's hot." But
Oh, yeah.
when I listened to it, it sounded like "Yabana onada," and I thought that was like, "Wow, what a dangerous woman," not "Wow, that's hot." And when I tried to look it up today, all I kept getting were hentai dojin. So, like, what is he actually saying? Is he trying to say that she's sexy, or is he trying to say that she's dangerous? Like, I think I missed the nuance there. And no matter what I put in the translator, I could not get a direct answer.
Don't they go hand in hand?
Probably.
If he did say, wow, she's dangerous, it almost sounds like it turns him on, right? Instead of,
Like it's sexy danger.
yeah. That's when Mikumo beat up all those, the flying squirrels, right?
Yes. Flying squirrel.
You gave those guys that name, the Flying Squirrel
Flying
Squad.
squirrels.
Squirrel Squad. Who's that? There's I can't remember if it's Marvel or DC, but there is a squirrel girl.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, they're talking about an adaptation. Yeah.
Yeah, Anna Kendrick wants to play it.
Oh, that'd be so fun. I would like that.
But then it's Marvel. They made Ant-Man.
True.
Yeah, they did, and they made it work more or less. So.
Yeah. So episode 23, Scarred Requiem. This episode opens with Freya, Mirage, and Hayate sneaking around Windermere, trying to avoid the search parties that are looking for the whole Delta Squadron. And then there's a little scene with Hines talking to Royd and Keith again. He's in bed and they're kneeling at the foot of the bed. And he asks them a favor, but they didn't actually say what the favor was going to be.
You know, I thought it was a nice way to start the episode. I mean, basically it showed us that Delta Squad is split up, but they are on a mission right now to enter the capital of, I think is it Derwent or Darwent?
Derwent?
Derwent. They're aiming to infiltrate the capital to make their way to the Protoculture ruins in the Sanctum.
I think that's what the subs say, Derwent. I'm not sure what it actually is.
Yeah, not much happening here. It's kind of a slow opening, I guess. They do set up a little bit of a mystery, I guess, with the request, but we don't really know what it is, and I don't know if we really figure it out later in the episode either.
But do you think it's even worth introducing mysteries or loose ends at this time of the
Well,
series?
they have to do something, right? Because with every episode, it's kind of like it's meant to pique your interest, right? To get you invested in the episode, or at least to have not necessarily a mystery, but just to have like a some sort of dramatic statement that gets you into the groove of the episode. So this one, this intro didn't really work for me, and I mean, with the first half, it's picking up from the place where we left off in the previous episode. So it's sort of like a reestablishing sequence that's meant to remind us of where our characters are and what they're doing. But other than that, the sequence with the Windermerians, I didn't get much out of that.
I wonder if the trial that they talked about later, like Hines wants them to go to trial, I wonder if that's what what his request was.
It was either that or they mentioned the Sanctum to each other later on. Keith asks, how's everything going with the Sanctum? And then Roy just turns turns around and says, "Yeah, everything's going great."
問題ない It's nothing. Oh God.
Well,
That's such a flippant response to it. Like 問題ない like mind
Yeah.
your own business. I'm like, God. Anyways, that's
But both of them were there, right? Like both Keith and Royd were there when Hines makes his request. So it
Yeah.
can't be a secret to either one of them. So it's got to be something
No.
else. So yeah, I think maybe Cecilia might be right. It is that that moment. I think it's like one of those instances where it's like I can't remember the name for it now, but there's an actual term for that. But it's like a false drama or a false mystery, right? The editing and the writing of the show will lead you to believe that there's going to be some big reveal because of a piece of a dialogue that one of the characters says, but they never do actually reveal it. And it was only set up there just to get you past that part in the initial part of the story, just as a hook. It's meant there to be just a dramatic hook to get you into the audience into the story, but it doesn't actually have any story or plot value. And if that's the case, that's certainly panned out here because ultimately when they said no, if it is the trial that Hines requested at the end, then that's not fulfilling in any sort of dramatic way.
I, for one, don't want to see a trial at the end of this series. That's the last thing I want to see. It's just...
I don't think the trial's actually going to happen.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Hopefully we get our guns blazing climactic episode
Yeah.
with only 3 episodes left.
Yeah, I don't want this to be like, end in a Law and Order kind of way. Ding, ding.
Macross judgment at Nuremberg.
So, and that's like the first and last time we see Hines in this episode. It's just like that little clip. After the opening song, we see Aaron and Kame miles away from the action, not really joining in. The triangle is on foot. What?
I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, you don't even have to say anything. I can read your mind.
Oh, the triangle is on foot, but Mikumo, Makina, and Reina are on some ATVs or whatever you call them. They're like on bikes. They explain why the Delta Squad was separated on Windermere, which we saw last episode. The shuttle crashes, and Hayate and Mirage get into a battle with the late Qasim. The triangle go through a cave, and it's a cave that Freya was familiar with because it flashes back to a really cute sequence where she sings Seikan Hiku, or how do you say that, Celia?
Seikan Hiko.
Seikan Hiku. I like the way I said it better. I'm just kidding.
For one thing, I like their Windermere disguises because I noticed that.
Oh.
Yes, because I noticed that Mirage and Kaname do not have heart-shaped runes.
They have teardrops.
They have teardrop runes. So that was just kind of nice. We don't get a lot of information about the Windermere anyways. So the fact that the girls have different shaped runes, I'm like, oh, so this is a choice for them. They can have a teardrop rune or a heart rune. Oh yeah, Reina does too. Hers is blue.
I'm surprised they don't have star runes.
Because the boys have them.
They're diamonds.
They're supposed to be I call them sparkles. I know they're supposed to be diamonds, but I call them sparkles.
They need star-shaped runes with the 5 points. That's what they need.
What if that's what the Star Singer has?
That's true.
Yeah, actually, the cave sequence was cute. I liked little Freya singing a Ranka song. That was really darling. But we all know that the guy who gave her the music player is Hayate's dad, and that's why they zoomed in on him extra close during the flashback. And with his glasses, because he wore glasses too. I could see the earpiece through the white fade on the screen, and his spiky blue hair just like his son. I did like though when they're at the cave and Freya can see her village and she's talking about explicitly saying that she's longing for her village, but where she's like, oh, it must be lunchtime. I hope everyone's doing well. I bet they're cooking right now. I like that scene because then she, when they're like, are you okay? And she's like, yep, I'm fine. Let's go on with the mission. That's hard for her, being back home and knowing that she can't go back home and probably might not be able to go back home when this is all over either.
Yeah.
So I like that. It was very short, but I thought that was a nice character scene for her.
I mean, this whole thing that the person in the flashback might not be Hayate's father is pretty. I mean, that's pretty weak. I mean, we pretty much know at this point that he has to be, right? That sort of fact is going to, not necessarily for Freya, but for the other characters in the story of Macross Delta overall, Hayate's father is going to play into it more and more as time goes on, and we see that later in this episode as well. I think that part was necessary, but kind of like, at this point, there's already too much we know that
Yeah.
he's the guy, he's the one. So we're just sort of prolonging it, and it's not really much of a mystery. At least for
They need to
us,
quit
yeah.
with the slow reveals.
Yeah,
Really.
exactly. Like they should have spent the time to do some other stuff rather than that, you know? Ugh, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to complain about the other slower episodes that we already complained about. It just reminds me of, yeah, they could have spent time working on different things instead of those sorts of elements of the story, and something that would have propelled it forward a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, the sequence is okay. It was good, and it set up, I guess, a necessary component to the next part of the story that's going to take place, and that's all right. Not much else going on here. We do see a few Windermerian soldiers. We see some actually Windermerian ground vehicles, which are a little bit interesting. We don't see that much of them, but they've got some weird sort of design on the side of them that leads me to believe that maybe could be some sort of there might be some more mechanical apparatus to the vehicles than just rolling vehicles. I'm not sure yet. Maybe we'll see some more in actions, or maybe it's just a part of the mechanical design to distinguish them from more conventional vehicles. I don't know, but they looked interesting. I actually noticed that the front design of the Windermerian military transports, whatever we're going to call them, had almost like a shovel-like sort of design to it, for probably for like plowing through snow and
Oh
other
yeah.
sort of stuff like that. Yeah, because I grew up in a northern community, and we had like trucks like that have these massive shovels mounted on the front of them, and they look very, very similar to that. Sort of like a wedge-shaped shovel design that just sort of scrapes along the ground and pushes the snow out to either side of the vehicle. So you make like a path just by moving forward. So I thought that was a nice little touch,
Is that what
actually.
Santa drove, Chad? Is that what you're trying to tell us? That you're an elf?
Dude, Santa flew a Valkyrie, man. A big red one, really piloted with a guitar.
Plot twist: Santa's Basara.
That's why nobody ever gets anything nice.
Oh, oh.
Bravo, sir, bravo.
No, I also noticed that there was defrosters on their windows, which is actually a pretty cool little addition to the design.
Just nice touches, nice mechanical
Yeah,
touches.
I like those SUVs.
Yeah, they were very, very cool. Yeah, they almost looked like I guess the equivalent of like a Humvee kind of thing, right? They looked like a light armored Jeep of some sort, but different.
Yeah, so Arid and Kaname go to the former nuns base, and they're looking for supplies. And Makina, Reina, and Mikuma are going to eat, but as usual, Mikuma was going to sneak off, but this time Makina catches her. Which is weird because they should have had Makina on her from the beginning, because she's really good at like paying attention to everybody else, right? And this whole scene is about how Mikuma has issues interacting with other people.
The three Valkyrie girls are sitting together is kind of fun. Actually, one of the things I liked about this sequence is the Reina, and specifically Makina. This is pretty much driven. This whole sequence is driven by Makina. She notices that Mikumo never sticks around when everybody's eating, and apparently she does this all the time. And so Makina calls her out on it, and Mikumo agrees to stay. And so Machina is sort of like getting her to try different things, and she tries these sea spiders and whatnot, and has a very favorable reaction to them, which is kind of sweet. And then Machina takes the opportunity to be a little bit mischievous as well and play with Mikumo. I kind of like this sequence quite a bit, because there was just before this happened, this whole sequence played out, Mikumo gave one of her trademark responses. Like Machina asks her, you always leave before everybody eats, and you never eat with the rest of us. And Mikumo gives one of her trademark mysterious responses, right? But this time, Machina convinces her to actually stay so they can get to know her a little, I guess, right? And it's good because we've all liked certain aspects of Mikumo and her mysterious nature, but at times it's almost getting overplayed a bit, and it gets a little bit cliche after a while. I don't know about how you guys have been feeling about it, but I've been kind of feeling that way. So at this point, it's really nice to see that Machina finds a way to get around Mikumo's usual mysteriousness and introduce her to some things that she doesn't ordinarily participate in, and as a result, we get to see a little bit of Mikumo, a little bit more of her. Instead of the whimsical, mysterious diva, we get to see Mikumo actually smiling, which is something that she usually doesn't do outside of when she's singing. right? That's the only time we see her with any sort of face. And usually when she's doing this singing, it's a different kind of smiling. But this was actually something like an unexpected smile, like a pleasant sort of surprise and an experience that she hasn't had before. And I think that was cool. I liked that part of it. It was fun.
Yeah, I liked it for those same reasons, like the way Mikomo was responding to everything and her facial expressions, like the look on her face when she was looking at those sea spiders was perfect. And I'm pretty sure it's the same look I had on my face when I was looking at those sea spiders because they looked pretty nasty. But I also liked it because it was Walkure getting closer. After they tried to bust Mikomo out of the medical ship, she was distancing herself even further from Walkure than she already had been. You know, everyone just kind of accepted that Mikomo did her own thing. And then, you know, finding out her history, Mikomo separated herself further from the group because I think she felt that that's what she needed to do. But this was just a really cute, intimate moment between the three of them. Like there was even a slide whistle. Like you can't get any more lighthearted than a slide whistle. But yeah, I really liked it. Machina dropping snow down the back of her dress, though, like gave me like chills because I have been there and had someone shove snow down the back of my shirt. So that was just, that was great, though. I loved it. And Machina's response afterwards when she says, you know, sea spiders, you know, taste like this and snow is cold, you know, and she's like, I love the way your voice sounds now. I can't wait to hear what your singing is going to sound like once you've experienced more things.
Yeah,
you know,
that was a great
that
answer.
was great. I loved it. I also thought it was interesting when Mikomo was talking to them too, and she says that she was on a very strict diet. So it makes me curious just what she was eating, especially since for Lady M, like their answer when she's damaged or, you know, her health is at risk is to put her in a tank. So I'm like, what have you been eating? You know, to where you're not able to eat with everybody else. Because that might be why she wasn't eating with everyone else anyways. There's only specific things she could eat.
When they said that line, I imagined her eating baby food like RoboCop.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Some
I felt
Gerbers.
kind of similar as well. Not necessarily the baby food, but just like the talk of like, you know, on a fixed diet and stuff. I'm like, well, what the heck have they got her eating? Like vitamin supplements or something, and water? Like what? You know, that seems kind of ridiculous.
It's all protein powder. You know, like
Yeah.
protein drinks.
It's whey powder. It's just like
Exactly.
been pumping up.
It's working.
Yeah, it might be actually, as we see later in the episode.
It's kind of funny because this scene reveals more. It wasn't really like set up. It's been set up that she's mysterious and there's nothing that we know about her. But the way that they revealed that she has never ate with anybody and all that stuff just came about more organically than, you know, trying to hide all these things about her. And it actually revealed the fact that she wasn't trying to be mysterious this whole time and she just had no experiences to share with people. It actually develops her character a lot more in this one scene than they have almost the whole series. The character animation on this episode, but especially this sequence, is actually done really well. So, you know, hopefully maybe that's what they've been saving all that money for, those last 3 episodes before last week.
Maybe. I just wish it happened sooner.
Yeah, hopefully they're saving it for a lot more. So in the next scene, we see Freya and Mirage are left alone by Hayate. Hayate is out scouting, and then the two discuss why they do what they do. And then that's when Hayate breaks up the moment and comes back running and saying that the Windermereans are on their back.
This scene was actually kind of cute. It's one of those moments where, like, because they're talking to each other and they're complimenting each other, but the way that they go about it's pretty funny. At least for me, I know it was supposed to be kind of a serious, like, they're like a serious connection between the two of them, but I thought it was really amusing. Where, you know, Mirage and Freya are talking about, you know, Mirage, you know, commends Freya on her maturity and her bravery during the battle and in the mission and how she felt strong emotions with her song. You know, she's like, this song makes me feel frustration and pain, and Freya's like, you know, yeah, well, you're brave too. You said you would shoot Hayate out of the sky if you needed to, and I couldn't do that. Like, it was just kind of like stacking compliments on top of each other. But the way that their conversation ended, and I'm not sure if they could hear each other, where they're about to ask each other the same question, like why they would go that far to support Hayate. Like, why would you do this for him? But the structured it so similarly, I don't know if they could actually hear each other, like prepping that question. It was kind of funny, but I liked how they just kept kind of stacking compliments.
Even though it's only like a very small baby step forward in the love triangle. It is some forward momentum at least. And I did like the awkwardness of it because I kind of felt that that's exactly how these two characters would have reacted in this sort of situation. They're both like, they both want to get something out of it. Like they both want to ask a question. They both want to, they both want to say to each other, what are your feelings and intentions towards Hayate? Because I have feelings and intentions toward them. That's both what they want to say, but they can't say that specifically. So they're trying to figure out a way that they can communicate with each other while still being nice to each other, while still saying, I might be interested in this guy that you might be interested in. So I thought it's kind of good. I liked it. It had like that amount of awkwardness, and I think it was true to the characters as well. Maybe not necessarily true to who they are, but true to who they are in these circumstances. I mean, the series so far has shown us that both Freya and Mirage are a little bit immature, which is being nice, when it comes to their feelings towards other people, especially intimate feelings towards other people. They're pretty much all thumbs. They're very good at what they do, but as dealing with personal relationships is way more challenging for them, and they need to grow up a bit. It's great that this sort of played out the way it did. Like I said, it's true to their struggles on this particular subject. I thought it was a good sequence.
This scene was like edited really well, and
Yes,
the fact that you're saying it's awkward, they did that through the editing, because every time they came back to the one character, it was just a little bit closer.
Yes.
They zoom in without zooming in while they're talking.
Yeah.
And then it's like it almost came to like a point where the camera was just way too close to the character,
Yeah.
right? Like it was just their eyes. And then right when they turn around, they like jump back to a wide where they both say Hayate, you know what I mean? And every time they did that, it just made everything more awkward. It's the exact feeling that they were trying to get to. And I was just watching it and I was just like, wow, this is really well done. It's actually, the editing is a lot better than the dialogue itself, because the dialogue wasn't really pushing the story forward. It's just stuff that we already knew, and something that we knew that was going to become interrupted at the end, that it wasn't like going to give anything away. And of course, Hayate runs in and he's like, they're getting close. And then that's when this whole thing starts where they're getting chased. Mikumo, Makina, and Reina are back on their vehicles and they're trying to get away from the twins in their Drakens. And then they're blocked by these flying squirrel guys, right? And then and then like unexpectedly, like Mikumo just, when they land, Mikumo manages to kick their ass. The twins were gonna try to attempt to catch her, but then Royd gets on the radio and he says, go catch up with the other two. And later on, we find out what happens to Mikumo. Freya, Hayate, and Mirage are getting chased by Bogue, and then he just kind of surrounds them with some fire, and then they had to stop and they had their hands up. We come back to Royd, but he just happened to be like exactly where she was running to, and he tells her,
Rudan Jarom Mayan.
Yeah, and then he calls her the Star Singer. And then she like passes out, and he like.
It's because he punches her. He punches.
Does he punch her?
He punches her
Did
in
I
the
miss
gut.
that?
Yeah, he says Rudan Jarom Mayan, and it like makes her trip out for a minute, and then he punches her in the gut. He actually doesn't even punch her. He like jabs her under the ribs.
I totally
with
missed
his
that.
hands, and then he catches her. Oh god, so when that first came up, when I watched it the first time, I immediately thought of like imagery for like the Big Bad Wolf, where like you have Mikumo, and then like the way that they like edit it and the way the camera focuses in on Royd is just very predatory, and it's scary. Like there hasn't been a point so far where Royd's actually been scary until this point, where he's like hiding in the trees and like catches her off guard, and he's all like, oh, you're the Star Singer. And then it like zooms in on his face, like on his mouth, and he grins, and it's got like the dark like edging. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's scary. It gave me Big Bad Wolf vibes, very much so. But the action for this scene in particular was actually quite good. Bogue sensed that they were present on Windermere through his rune. They had jammed the systems for the Windermerians and their Drakens, but Bogue still found out they were there anyways with his superhuman senses. And the guys who was Stubborn Nato made the comment on when he was tweeting about it that like these are the guys that would fly with wingsuits and ties.
That's right.
I'm like, oh my god. Like, they showed up when they were far away, I'm like, is that what I think it is? And then the camera came in closer to them, and you could actually see it, and I laughed out loud. I know this is like one of their tactical units, and they're
It's
like,
supposed to be
yeah,
majestic.
and they're supposed to be majestic with their wingsuits that literally have feather motifs. And I just laughed. It looked so goofy. Probably my favorite part of this whole sequence actually was those wingsuits. Oh, and Mikumo won, like, single-handedly taking all of them out using her propulsion jets from her Valkyrie uniform. Like, that was pretty good too.
I like the sequence, and I agree it was ridiculous. I know that I do like it when creators of anime like choose a theme and then just go all out with it. When they create, like, whatever, when they create a character, when they create a people, a country, a planet, whatever, right? They pick a theme, they like it, and they go with it, and they just create everything that surrounds this theme, that reinforces this theme. They create all of their sequences visually in order to do that. And I think this was another example of that. They're like, okay, well, how are we going to send in Windermeerens? Well, we did show them trucks, but we don't want to do that because Windermeerens are all about the sky, right? So let's send them flying in. But what are they going to be flying? They can't be flying Valkyries. They got to be flying something else. And it's got to be more personal. It's got to be like infantry based, right? So they come up with these wingsuits, probably because somebody watched one of those extreme sport, where they have the suits, right? And they jump off of cliffs and they dive down and thought, this is a great idea. We can do,
that's exactly it.
Yeah, we can do like a futuristic version of this, a Windermeerian Macross version of this, right? And we can have them coming in on these wingsuits. But like Cecilia said, they just look ridiculous. They look so silly. They do look like flying rodents coming in with their guns and their ties and everything. I realized what they were going for, what the creators were going for with this. And I like that aspect of anime. But I think in this case, it came across as really goofy. But this sequence was kind of unexpected because we haven't really been given any indication that the Valkyrie girls, we know they've been trained in fighting, but we didn't know that they had any particular adeptness at it. And maybe this is just Makumo that has this level of, extreme accomplishment where she can take on 4 armed soldiers and just beat the crap out of them with such aplomb. It's crazy. She just goes in there and just like lays them all out. They don't even have a chance. And just like levels each of them. Almost looks like she does it with one strike each. She just hits them all and they all fall down at the same time. It's just like, wow. I mean, this is something you'd see in like a Dragon Ball Z episode or something. It was a level of hand-to-hand combat that was very, very accomplished.
I have to say, though, this is probably like the best background music that you've heard on this series. Like when they show Bogue in the beginning and then the evil theme came on, I was just like, whoa, this is really good.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they've used that track for other scenarios either, except for when they
did.
When they look at the crater. Every time the crater has been shown,
yeah,
they use it. But that's about it. Like, that's the only context that particular soundtrack, at least that I remember.
Yeah, and they use it again in this episode, and it sounds really, really good.
Yeah. I just want someone to, like, edit in Flight of the Valkyries or something, like, dun, 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 as these guys are, like, gliding in on their wingsuits. Like, I want someone to do that. That would make my life for about 30 seconds. So that'd be great.
Well, Stubbornato could do that for you. He could do a video for you.
There you go.
So we see a quick shot of Arid.
Your boy.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, Arid, what should we do? Let's just go with the plan. All right, and then that's it. You don't see him again. Arid, don't you think we need a new plan?
I think he gets one more when he's like, let's just keep sticking with the plan. That's about it.
Yeah, it's like, wait, half of the plan is gone. They got Mikuo, they got Hayate, Freya, and Mirage. Just stick with it, all right? Just trust me. They'll show up.
I love that his reasoning, too, is that, like, well, they're going to Derwent because they've been captured. So let's stick with the plan and meet at our rendezvous point in Derwent.
Oh,
like, gosh, that's great.
Man, I love I love the saltiness for Arid. It's so good. You know,
But it's true.
is that we should have a sequence for Arid where we have like a dedicated section for Alex where it's just fuck Arid news. You know, all the stupid things Arid does that justifies us saying fuck you, Arid. We should have this should be like a permanent feature, and we should give like a timestamp for it on each episode. It'd be great.
That'd be wonderful.
We still have 3 episodes. I still have hope for the guy. No, I don't. Stick to the plan. Oh my god. So in the next scene, we see the triangle, and they're captured by the Windermerians. And then Royd comes out of his car, and then he mentions Hayate's last name, and that's when everybody goes crazy. That was like a really good scene. It was just very tense.
We've discussed it several times about Hayate's father and exactly what his role is and how the events took place there and what actually happened and how it doesn't feel like we're getting the whole truth. And that's already been set up, and this is sort of reinforcing it, but we're getting a little bit closer to the truth. And we find out later that they actually have, apparently, at least according to the Windermerians, they have Wright Immelman's VF-22 Sturmvogel, the actual one that he used apparently in this alleged bombing run. They say it was repaired from its crash landing, and they decided to keep it as like some sort of symbol or reminder of what happened to the Windermerians. I guess their loss or their shame or something like that, Royd says, which is interesting to me because I think that reinforces, at least in my mind, that reinforces the fact that Wright Immelman did not do it. Because just them having his VF-22 Sturmvogel leads me to believe that it was a plant of some kind. Because if it wasn't, there'd be a very little chance that they'd actually have that in their possession. I think it was because somebody wanted them to have it. Whoever is really responsible for whatever happened on Windermere wanted them to have that to sort of make the Windermerians continually believe that this is all the new UN Spacey's fault. This is all, Hayate's father's fault, everything. If they have this so-called evidence, it sort of gives the Windermerians an enemy. It gives them moral justification for what they do. It says, oh, look at us. We were bombed once. How horrible is that? We didn't deserve it. So now we're justified in visiting those horrors tenfold on everybody else. Right? So I think it provides motivation, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was Royd who was behind the whole thing.
I thought about that, but I don't think Royd was old enough. I think with the passing of Gramia, he could have been the last link of some sort of conspiracy that did plant that VF-22.
Okay.
I do get that sense, though, that it was planted the way they had Mirage and Freya kind of like fighting about the truth, and you don't know the truth. I mean, at this point, does it really matter? Because there would have to be some sort of proof that they could show to the world that this has been something that they cooked up, but there's just nobody there to take the blame, right?
Well, that's the other thing too, that I think that's why it works so well, right? Is because yes, everybody knows that they like our three main characters, Hayate, Freya, and Mirage, challenge the Windermerians on the fact that they don't have any proof.
Yeah.
They don't know, no one actually saw it, and they can't confirm it. All of their beliefs are basically, then they stand for nothing. And of course, this just, sends Bogue over the edge, right? Because Bogue is all about righteous indignation. That's like a cornerstone of his character ever since we first got introduced to him in the beginning of the series. And so for him to be put in front, like to be challenged like this, is just unforgivable in his eyes, because he knows the truth, and which of course means that he doesn't know anything really, but he just believes. Right. And so he doesn't want anybody challenging that belief, which means that there is something else going on here, that there is like a misdirection, and everybody's being misled. But I agree with you, Alex. I don't really think that like at this point, what will that change? I mean, the damage is already done. The war is almost over at this point. Right. And for one way or the other. So does it really matter? Will it really matter to anybody? Will Bogue really change his opinion if he finds out the truth of what actually happened to the Windermerians? Like, I don't know if I see that happening or not. I mean, I'm sure that something useful will come out of the truth because it's going to be a major reveal, a major plot point. But I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you. I'm just not sure that it's actually compelling enough to realistically change the ideas and the thoughts of some of these people who have lived with this for a very, very long time. I mean, even if the truth was revealed, I would suspect it would take the Windermerians a while to get through it, to process it, and to accept it as the truth.
It'll be compelling enough because, it's an anime, and then that's the point where all the Windermereans are going to look at each other and be like, oh, yeah, we should have never got into this war.
Maybe, maybe.
Because it's an anime. In reality, it wouldn't
it
be
wouldn't
enough,
be
right?
like that, yeah. But yeah, in anime logic, it might make sense, yeah, for sure. I think this might bode poorly for Bogue, because I don't know that even if he's even told the truth, I don't think like in anime logic, I think he might not accept it either.
I think so
Which
too.
means his character's probably doomed. He's probably gonna die or something.
No,
Celia.
he's my favorite because he's an asshole. Actually, I think Vogue might be persuaded if the theory that you had, Alex, about Wright being controlled by the VAR, like it was one of the first tests of mind control. If that was what happened and that was revealed, that might change Vogue's opinion. Maybe not to where he will change sides, but it'll confuse him. And he'll have a really strong emotional reaction because that's what he's all about. He's all about really strong emotional reactions because it's basically what the purpose he has served in this entire series so far. And that's actually why I kind of liked how he was interacting with Freya and everybody when they were at the site of the crater. Is he got incredibly angry, even more so when he was talking about how he lost his sister and how everyone in Carlisle died, which tells me he had more than just his sister being in Carlisle. He may have had a deeper connection to Carlisle, but just the anger that he felt and the way that like Ken nailed this performance, the way he was delivering the lines and how like just strongly it came across when he was saying, it's not going to fix anything. Nothing can fix anything. And then Roy uses it as a convenient to point, be like, you're right, nothing can be fixed. That's why we're going to keep on going forward. I do think it's weird, though, that they're keeping the VF-22 as a reminder of their shame instead of as a trophy. Like, I think that'd be probably the only reason it would make sense to keep, for one thing, the full-size plane and keep it in the castle is if they were keeping it as a trophy. Like this is the result of our first attempt that we succeeded at something.
The point of the deception, like of the lie, right? Because the VF-22 is like a symbol of the lie, because everybody on Windermere believes that it was, Wright Immelman and then the new UN Spacey that was responsible for this. And they have proof. They have the actual craft that dropped the bomb, sort of thing, right? And I think that's why it's kept in their possession, because it's part of the lie, the intricacy of the lie, right? So I think it helps reinforce that this is what happened according to the Windermerian narrative. I'm curious how it's going to turn out, actually, because I don't actually know how it's going to turn out just yet. I have some theories, like I said, but yeah, I think you're right about the Royd thing. Maybe he was too young. I'm not really sure about the ages. It's kind of hard to tell. But the war was 7 years ago, right? The Windermerian War.
Yeah.
Yes.
We see them as kids, right, Celia? And
so they were kids during the war.
Yeah, they were about 12.
Yeah, remember the flashback last week?
Yeah.
With Royd and Heinz reading? It was around that age that the war started.
Okay.
Because Keith was in school, and then they were called out of school to start piloting while they're like really young kids.
Yeah, that would have been about mid-war because it had, let's see, the occupation started when Heinz was a baby. So assuming that Heinz was probably about 4 or 5 in there. Oh, that could have been closer to the beginning of the war. Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Makes sense then, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not really they're not keeping consistency between the two anyways, because the anime decided that Vogue only has 1 sister and the manga decided that he has 4. Especially because it's supposed to be like an ongoing supplementary material. It's not something that you are supposed to look at as separate from Delta. It's supposed to supplement it, and there's not very much consistency between the two.
The geography was weird also, between how big the explosion was, how close Freya was, how close the village was, and there was a castle close to the explosion also.
Like, how did Freya not get singed?
Exactly. And then there's another scene on another episode where the explosion is seen from space, and it seems to kind of go above the atmosphere. I know it's all just stylistic stuff, but it's just jarring the differences in the descriptions.
Yeah, I think you guys are getting a little hung up on that, actually. I mean, just
I am hung up on
it's just
it. I can't
We
get over
want
it.
real physics here in our animation.
it's good
cartoon.
enough. It's good enough visually to describe to show to depict what happened and what Freya witnessed. Because we got to
Yes.
see that she witnessed it, and it also has to be dramatic too, right? So the explosion has to appear large from Freya's perspective. So it unfortunately makes it look like she's way too close to the explosion, but that's kind of dramatic effect, right? We want to depict her in the midst of this massive Armageddon, so it looks very, very imposing and just deadly and dreadful.
I think they're trying to make Giraffe Blues the Diamond Crevice of Macross Delta, mostly because they're using it a lot. Like Diamond Crevice was the designated ballad of Frontier, and it was one of the songs that Cheryl sang the most. I don't think that Giraffe Blues is on the same level as Diamond Crevice, like not even close. But I think that's what they're trying to do, is make this like the signature ballad of Delta, because everybody keeps singing it.
Yeah. A lot of these songs are not in any way close to the level of what the Frontier songs were, but they're still pretty good. I really like them, and they're pretty catchy. And part of me would rather go see Walker than go see a main and what's her name? The girl,
Megumi Nakajima.
Megumi Nakajima.
I will
concert.
fight you on that. I will go.
No, you don't have to.
I will
You
go
could have
see
those
Maine
tickets.
before I.
I'll give you my main tickets, and then you give me your Walker tickets.
Okay, cool.
You don't even have to fight.
No fighting. There it is. Problem solved.
And guess what? You could eat all the potatoes you want at those concerts.
Just bring a bag of potatoes.
All right. Well, you keep your Cheryl.
That's
No,
right.
actually, I like Cheryl. I like Cheryl's
I
songs.
love Cheryl.
Just being a smart ass.
Cheryl's queen.
Well, we all know now that Mikumo could kick her ass.
Yeah, right.
My idol could kick your idol's ass.
Yeah, right. They would just smirk together and flip their hair and be sexy badasses together. They wouldn't
And
fight.
eat ice cream together.
Yes. They'd get ice cream, and Ronka would fawn over both of them, and Freya would be like, "Oh my God, it's Cheryl!" See, it's just it's a fun dynamic.
That's a horrible headcanon.
Yeah, we don't need to keep that one.
So that's pretty much the end of the episode, and then we have a post-credit scene.
Again, we start off with setting it in Royd's lair. So, of course, the opening shot has to be his massive collection of spectacles. And yeah, he's just like, he sort of says something like, "I'll devote my wings to your voice," or something like that, and calls Mikumo the Star Singer. So it looks like Royd is trying to, I guess, use Mikumo to some sort of extent, some sort of nefarious purpose or whatnot. The whole scene was rather creepy. She was all tied up and incapacitated.
Oh, so
And
creepy.
so yeah, so I guess Royd is really turning on the creep factor here with his next plans. We'll see how it turns out.
Was it creepy,
It
Celia?
was so creepy. Like, oh, I don't think I've actually been like afraid of Royd as a villain. Like, you know how villains are supposed to make you feel like, oh, I can't support that guy, or oh, I don't really like this guy. And Royd, I've been pretty just neutral on, where I'm like, all right, yeah, you're the bad guy, but are you really the bad guy? And then this episode, they actually turned up the creep factor with him. Not just here, but like when he captures Mikumo in the first place. It just was really creepy, and I did not like it. But it helps, though. It helps actually establish that, yes, he really is a villain or an antagonist for this story. Just in case you forgot, when he gets in her face and he's all like, "I will dedicate my wings to your voice." I'm like, oh, don't do that. It creeps me out. Oh, man, he's got her tied up all funny, too.
I think one of the things I find like even more creepy about the tied up job is the fact it looks very fetishistic, very much
Yes.
so. I think, like somebody's being hog tied for some nefarious sexual purpose, and that makes it even more creepy. So yeah, I think that's kind of disturbing. I think as a visual element, I think that was intentional, to make it even more disturbing and creepy.
Well, that is the fetish, right? The shibari thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, shibari is Japanese rope bondage.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with the
Yeah.
term.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an artistic thing though. It's not necessarily supposed to be like a kink. It's kind of like walking on this very like thin line between artistic expression and actual kink.
Okay.
But it looks very kinky here.
Yeah,
And it looks
well, that's
very, very
exactly,
poorly
yeah.
done.
That's exactly what I thought. As soon as I saw it, I thought this looks very fetishistic. So,
Yes.
yeah, which is, of course, would be great if you're an anime artist trying to, amp up the creepiness factor of this particular sequence. One of the ways you would do that is to have like a restraint style for your main character in Jeopardy and put it in something that's really weird. That would make people uneasy just by looking at it, right? And so the fetishistic aspect adds like a sexual dimension to her captivity, which makes it even more like, dire and just terrible. So yeah, so I think that it was weird. It was very weird. Successful,
Especially-
if that's what they were going for.
Especially when you think about who put her in the white dress.
Yeah.
That's true.
Is that really why Royd sent them to go look at the plane? Notice Royd was not present.
Yeah. And how did he get that dress in the first place, right? Like, where did that dress come from?
Maybe he's had it this whole time, dude.
What if
Yeah.
it's his?
Exactly.
What if he likes?
It's like that guy from Mr. Robot.
What if he likes to cosplay the Star Singer?
Oh, White Rose from Mr. Robot?
Yeah, he's White Rose
It's
from
White
Mr.
Rose
Robot.
from Mr. Robot. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
It's
Did you watch the latest episode?
Yeah.
It's so good.
Why does he pee like a girl? Yeah, tell me.
I don't know yet.
Celia
exactly.
could tell us if she watched it. The guy that dresses like a girl, but he pees like a girl.
Is it though?
Maybe that's his preference.
Like, do we know that? Like, do we know?
Oh, you think he's post-op?
Well, no. Like, what? That's certainly a possibility too.
What if this character is just gender fluid?
It
Some
could be
days
it too.
they like identify as more masculine,
As
others
masculine,
they
and
identify as
some
more
days they're
feminine.
like, yeah, more feminine. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I haven't even watched this show. Look at me contributing.
No,
You
that's
gotta
good,
watch
because
it.
that is a thing. That's a very real thing.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, BD Wong is awesome, and his character is amazing. It's one of the better characters on the show. So and it's also he's kind of mysterious too. So yeah, him and
Ooh,
Kumo have
mysterious
something in
Venus.
common. The mysterious Venus.
Or mysterious penis, the way he.
Oh, can we keep that in? Can we keep that in?
I don't know. We'd have to keep the whole thing about Mr. Robot in. So what you're saying, Celia, is you're not gonna ship Royd with Mikumo.
No. But it is a new ship just in time for next Comic Cat, I guess. And the rope's just at another level for the Dojin.
Delta's just full of material for all those Dojin artists. Yeah. And that's it for the episode. Yeah, let's go on to messages. All right, I guess we'll pick out one each. There's a lot.
I think Ard is the reason Hayate goes VAR, because Hayate has to carry the team while Ard just hangs back and tweets and eats dried jellyfish sticks. That's awesome. Well, I don't really have any sort of comment on this.
It's kind of true, though.
Except
I mean,
it is fun. It is hilarious. Yeah.
I mean, remember that scene that they were trying to decide whether they should just replace Messer, and then Hayate is like, "No, I'm gonna carry the team all by myself," and then Aaron's like, "Okay, that's fine, sounds good. We will not replace Messer." There it is.
You know what else would help Hayate not go VAR is if he took off his damn necklace.
It's the necklace, right? It's just, why don't you just take off the necklace and you never have to go there again?
Because like even in this episode, he kind of like cringes a little bit when she starts singing and like grabs at his chest or his necklaces. I'm like, dude, just take it off. Take it off and you won't feel the effects as strongly. It'll be okay.
Mirage.
Give it to Mirage.
I was hoping that she would hold his hand at that time, like, "You're okay," and she just kind of stares at him, like, "Not now."
Not now, Hayate. It's the wrong time for you to VAR out.
It's so embarrassing in front of all these Windermerians. This one about Bahoma 246. Great recap as always, guys. Thanks. Chaos and Nuns are perfectly okay with Mikumo being sexualized, so I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that she's only 3. Otherwise, episode 17 would be quite disturbing. I'm 95% sure that her DNA is 500,000 plus years old anyways. In fact, it was most likely taken from this so-called star singer shown in the protoculture ruins. That would explain the visions and why she's having explosive reactions with the ruins, and why Royd is acting like her number one fan. Let the shipbuilding begin. There you go. It actually all happens in this episode.
Yeah, we got more fodder for that ship in this episode.
Yeah. The fact that Royd called her the star singer make her the star singer?
She looks like the illustration, but that's about all we have. And that's about all Royd has, too.
That's about all we need, right? I mean, that's pretty much... In reality, we can't take that as proof, but as far as anime is concerned, I think, would that be fair to say, oh yeah, she's the star singer?
I think at this point in the series, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whether she actually is a real star singer, whatever that means, or not, is kind of like besides at this stage in the series, Mikumo obviously has the ability to really affect the protoculture ruins and interact with them. So that's good enough, right? For all intents and purposes, she might as well be the star singer. So Royd isn't necessarily right, but he's not necessarily wrong either. So
yeah, I mean, what's the point of her not being? Because it's 500,000 years ago. Who cares?
Yeah.
She's fulfilling that role for him, so I guess that would be good enough. If anybody cares about her being the star singer, it would be Royd. And
technically, the way genetics work, pretty much everybody has a little bit of protoculture in them. That's kind of how it is, right? Our DNA gets passed on from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And as was revealed in the original series, the humans are like the offshoots of the protoculture. They were, I guess, if you're going by whatever continuity, whatever official continuity you want to believe for Macross, typically the humans are supposed to be like descendants of the protoculture anyway. So every human would basically carry some DNA from the protoculture in them, even 500,000 years later.
We're all made out of stars, right?
We're all star stuff, man.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Planets twinkle.
Plug.
I actually got that. I actually got my username from the Diamond Crevice lyric. It's the very last one.
Okay.
The very last line of the song. Oh, shoot. Why can't I remember now?
It's a good thing you didn't go with Cheryl, number one fan.
Right. But yeah, the last line, Hoshi Planet.
There you go. A little bit of trivia there.
Yep, Planets Twinkle. Super
no
Macrossy
doubt.
name.
You are a Macross fan.
That's right.
You are. I was suspicious when I first heard of you. No, I'm just kidding.
I had my doubts, but you've reassured them.
I like that.
All right. So, Bry Funkenstein says, Gundam has the bright slap. Macross has the Hikaru slap.
I'm not familiar with the white slap. I've heard. I saw that a lot on the comments on Twitter also.
Oh, it's just there's a character called Noah Bright in Gundam, and he has an infamous slap sequence in was it in the original or was that Zeta Gundam? I can't remember actually. It's been a while since I've watched Zeta, and I've only ever seen the original series once a long time ago, so I can't remember.
All right, Celia, where can we find you when you're not on the Macross Delta recap show?
You can find me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Celia Rose Cosplay, and on my Twitter account @Planets Twinkle.
And Chad?
You can, of course, visit my website, the Macross Mecha Manual. You can also send me an email at marchingcw@hotmail.com. And you can visit the Facebook page for the Macross Mecha Manual, which is facebook.com/Macross Mecha Manual. And, of course, I'm available on various anime message boards, such as Anime Nation, ANN, and, of course, the Macross World Forums.
And this is EXO. You can find me on the Macross World Facebook page or the Macross Delta Facebook page, or you could tweet at me at Macross Tweet, the official Macross World Twitter account. See you next week for episode 24. I don't have a title for that at all.
I don't either. I didn't pay attention.
All right. There you go.
Go team.
Yeah, we're on it.
Bye.